Steve, anything to add to that?
No, I think that, well, I'm counting on that model working with Symphony. But I think that's the approach Symphony has taken, or approach other companies might take here, where they're very focused on expertise, deep domain expertise within a particular area, where there's an immense ability to retain talent in that team for long periods of time is critical. That those sounds like basic requirements, clearly, but those things are absolutely the foundation upon which any kind of success is going to be built.
A follow-up to that I'll pose to you and to Ravi, which is, how far do you think you can take this model? You're talking about offshore product development. Can you truly move it into high-end R&D where your partners would support you in that? And how far can you take the model? Where does it end? What can actually be offshored?
So look, I don't know the answer to that question. I would love to be able to say, this can go, to full product development here. I would tell you, though, that product development here goes hand in hand with our desire to penetrate this market. And as both those components succeed, I'm going to want more and more of that back underneath my roof. So I think there are some competing interests on this. Today, this relationship in offshore product development in India with another company makes a lot of sense from our point of view. I do think, though, that as the Indian market matures and becomes bigger for software providers, I think that model has to come back into analysis phase and say, do I want to continue down that path?
Okay. Ravi, your thoughts?
So specifically having to do with partner or having to do with product development in India?
Both.
Okay.
And I think in Oracle's case, just given that you have such a large setup here,
right,
and you're working with companies like Symphony,
right,
where do you draw the line in terms of what stays in-house, what goes to partners? How do you see that evolving?
So actually, as far as we're concerned with Symphony, we have Symphony people working on extremely sensitive and critical aspects of our product development. They take part in detailed designs. They work with our product management team in the US and have detailed discussions with them. So none of that work is insulated from our partner. Our goal has always been, when I was at Siebel, and especially with Symphony and IBM, was to try to inculcate a Siebel-like culture with our partners, to make sure that when somebody comes in to work at either Symphony or IBM, as the case may be, that they didn't think of themselves as different from any Siebel employee at the time. So we don't expect to see that change. With regard to the general question about how we want to enhance our product footprint in India as Oracle is concerned, our goal is to do that on an ongoing basis, and we'll only be limited by our imagination and the ability to attract talent and retain talent and grow that talent.
I'll just make one comment, and I think when somebody has a large captive, it's important to form a strong bond and a partnership and break down the barriers of us or them. And Oracle has done a great job, and we do have a couple other clients like that who actually have large numbers of people in our facilities. So there's our people and our clients' people in large numbers in our facilities, really working hand in hand to try and create that culture and that capability to be able to work as a single integrated team. And that's a big thing that Siebel did and Oracle's continued, which is keep pushing us as a vendor to bridge the great gap, to take more responsibility, to act more like Oracle than to act like a vendor.
I think a great follow-up to that, Gordon, is the question of how important is domain experience for a company like Symphony in the offshore product development space, and how do you deal with the challenges where you have someone working for an Oracle for 3 or 4 years and you want to move them or they move, the whole issue of non-competes and restrictions for 1 or 2 years, which, as an aside, is a pretty tenuous agreement in India. But keeping that aside, those agreements do exist. How do you deal with that whole issue?
Yeah, so domain knowledge is very critical. So probably only about 10% of our new hires in a given year are out of universities or freshers. So we tend to go for very experienced, domain-specific skill sets. We build to order our teams for our clients, so we go out and we go all over the country and we go outside the country to bring people in who know those product sets and have actually worked in those and have a lot of years of experience. So we form core teams that way. And we tend to hire people and promote the concept of staying with this what we call global operating center and this client for long periods of time, meaning probably as long as you're within Symphony. We do have glass ceiling policies which say that if you're ready for promotion and you've served at least 2 years with a client and there's no room for promotion for you within that client, then you have the ability to move out into other groups and ability to move other people in. We'll never move them into a competitive organization. So as long as they're working for us, we're never going to cross that line of putting them in a position. There are broad definitions of domains, and we also have service line career paths. So there's a lot of opportunities to stay within your career path and not actually go work on a competitive product, which is very different than a project-based shop, which is kind of prides itself on taking people from client to client to client, doing the same thing, even competitive clients. We stay away from that.
Okay. Steve, if I can turn that same question over to you. You're in an interesting domain, which you're not going to find too many skills wandering the streets in India. So how have you addressed that problem with your partners?
Well, I think the first is that a lot of these domain expertise or these skills have to be developed in conjunction with the partner. You're right, in our space, it's not like you're going to find 50, 60, 100 engineers that can come in and say, look, I know travel and expense management software. So it's very much a partnership-oriented approach that says over the next 3 or 4 years or whatever it might be, we're going to build that expertise together. And so, which is frankly no different than the same thing I do in the U.S., right? So we hire engineers in and we build that expertise into that individual. But making that investment choice really comes down to working with companies where the cultural focus is on that. So if you listen to Gordon's comments, it's very, very different than project-oriented approaches. And so that's pervasive across his organization. And so I think as we look at it, because again, we're all very early into OPD in India, as we look at it, a lot of it comes down to the culture of the organizations that we're working with and the priority of the senior executives. Then knowing full well that it's going to take time to build that expertise out.
Okay. Jonathan, a question for you from the audience. China has always been seen as a competitor to India in the IT outsourcing arena. However, as the two most attractive offshore locations, wouldn't competition or the lack of competition make everyone's life easier? And if the two countries can just start working together, what would it take for that to happen? And do you see it happening? If the two countries and companies within the two countries started working together, that would make everyone's life easy in this utopian world. So what would it take for that to happen? Do you see it happening? Will it happen?
Well, I guess I answered the question before that China and India is not in the competition stage. And I can also, I can go even further down and foreseeing there are some M&A activities that would happen in the very near futures. And this is just because the business has to leverage the two largest talent pool. Also, maybe access some local market. So the corporations, in terms of loosely work together, will be some type of a partnership, and maybe some joint ventures, and eventually probably there are Indian companies acquires a Chinese company, or the Chinese company acquires an Indian company. It becomes a marriage. So I guess that would be my answers. That's how these two countries will work together.